Welcome, Facebook viewers. This is Brad Bodis, and with this week's episode of the Bond and Bodis Facebook Live. We appreciate you joining us again today. And I want to remind all of our viewers that these episodes live on our Facebook page and also on our website. So if you know somebody that you think would benefit from the information we'll talk about today or any of our past episodes, please refer them back to our Facebook page or just share this feed. Today, we're very fortunate to have my good friend, California attorney Eric Clark. Eric, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Brad. It's good to be back with you.
Well, thanks. So, Eric, last week we had our friend, attorney Ed Bolts out of North Carolina, and we talked about the new legislation that's been introduced in Congress to provide for dischargeability of some student loans anyway. We're hopeful that with bipartisan support that legislation is going to make its way through Congress. But, you know, it's just an adaptation that we're making as bankruptcy attorneys, pushing for changes in bankruptcy. You know, and on that note, I guess everything has changed really over the last 14 months or so. And that's what we want to talk about today. But first, for my viewers, just a little bit about Eric. Eric is the managing partner with Borowitz & Clark, which is a bankruptcy law firm located in Southern California. Eric's board certified. He attended, you're a member of the State Bar of California, New York, and Connecticut. You served as an adjunct professor for a period of time at the Loyola Law School there in Los Angeles. Served as president of the National Consumer Bankruptcy Litigation Center and the American Consumer Bankruptcy College. And you've really helped your local bar there in California adapt to the changes that we've seen over the last year. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to have you on today. Let's see, Eric, you finished law school in 1994 at Quinnipiac University, which is in Hampton, Connecticut.
Hampton, Connecticut, yes.
Made your way out to California. You know, as I shared, and I want to just emphasize for our viewers, Eric is one of the leaders nationally amongst the consumer bankruptcy bar, respected by attorneys across the country. Has lectured to numerous groups and taught about bankruptcy, not just to law students, but to other bankruptcy attorneys. Eric, I'm sure I'm missing something. What else important about your background should we share with our viewers?
I'm married with 4 beautiful children, and that's my real job. And this bankruptcy stuff is what I do when I'm not playing the role of husband and dad.
Well, absolutely. Practicing law comes secondary to our roles as husbands and fathers. And I know we both share that feeling. Eric, if you would have approached me, and I don't know what your feelings were, but if you would have approached me 15, 16 months ago in early 2020, and you would have told me that I would be meeting with clients virtually, that I would be interacting with clients virtually, I would have told you there's no way. I guess I'm kind of old school. You know, I wanted to shake a client's hand. I wanted to look them in the eye. And I
wanted to hug them when it was all over. I mean,
right.
I mean, the touch and feel of it all was an important aspect of our business.
But, you know, we had to change out of necessity as COVID set in. And change we have. And it hasn't just been with our professions, with the practice of law. We've seen changes just throughout everything we do. And that's why I wanted to have you here today, because I know you've been a leader in this transition there in California. And we've talked back and forth, and I thought it would be interesting for our viewers to hear our perspective on how things have changed, how businesses and consumers have adapted, how our clients have adapted, and what the future brings. So are you ready to jump in and have this discussion?
Let's do it. I mean, we've all been through quite a roller coaster over the last 16 to 18 months. And you're absolutely right. I mean, I had heard of certain firms, law firms practicing in other areas of law, that were trying to do things virtually back in the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. I had met with clients who had met with attorneys virtually and were really put off by that experience. And they came into my office saying, I wanted to meet somebody face to face and talk to them about my situation. And so we had talked about it, my business partner and I, and had decided against it at the time for a variety of reasons, some of which we'll touch on today. But yeah, I mean, I think it was March 13th or 19th of last year, literally within 48 hours, my law firm went from a 6-office throughout Southern California firm to everybody working at home, and really did not miss a beat in that transition. And it was tough. It was it was a little nuts, but we did it. And we had some great help during that time, and our IT people really stepped up to the plate and hit it out of the park. But it was not easy, and then of course you then go through the transition and the learning pains of how to conduct the type of businesses that we do, and meet with clients and meet our clients' needs and the court's needs and our employees' needs and so on and so forth, with everybody scattered across, in my case, Southern California.
Right. We experienced almost the same thing. These stay-at-home orders went into effect in Alabama and in Mississippi, where our offices are located. I know you had the same in California, so we had to adapt quickly. One thing I'll say at the beginning, in addition to our IT folks really stepping up and helping us adapt to technology, my staff across the board. There might have been some little concern or a little bit of concern. We couldn't monitor folks. We couldn't keep an eye on them throughout the day, but folks have jumped in and done their share and have been real receptive to being able to work remotely when necessary. Have you experienced the same thing there?
I have. I mean, it was difficult because people were taking their computers home, and IT people were having to reach out to them at home and get them connected and make sure that their internet connections were secure, that their computers were secure. I mean, obviously, in an industry like ours, where we have tremendous amounts of sensitive financial documents and information on our clients, one of the premier considerations or concerns, I should say, that I have and I know you have, is safeguarding our clients' information and documents. And so we had to go through that process to make sure that everybody had the same security protocols at home that we had within the office. And so again, that's a feather in the cap of our IT people that were able to order up all of the firewalls and varieties of things that we needed to do in order to get things safeguarded. And luckily, or maybe because we did a good job doing it, we've had no instances of any kind of concerns about that during the entire pandemic. And again, when we first started this, I mean, we all remember, we really didn't know what we were facing.
That's right.
If somebody had told me when I sent everybody home in March of 2020 that everybody would still be home in August of 2021 with really no end in sight, it would have been, I would have just not believed it. But there was also some real fear going on then, because we had never dealt with a pandemic. Nobody really in this country had dealt with that on any large scale like we did with COVID, and nobody really knew what to expect. I mean, you may recall, everything was locked down. The restaurants, the supermarkets. I mean, you were ordering in food and being told on the internet that you had to wipe down all of your fruits and vegetables and cereal boxes. And so it was just, not only did we have to maintain the business side of this, but we also had the real life side of it that had its own levels of fear and inconvenience. Yeah. So it was a real tough time. And again, the uncertainty at the time of how long this was going to be for created another problem, because we didn't know if we were going and investing in a virtual infrastructure that was going to be long-term, or if this was just going to be something, as we were being told, that by the summer would be over with. And so it, obviously, we can now look back on it with a lot more clarity, but at the time it was very uncertain as to where things were headed.
Yeah, it's certainly been something that, you can't see the future, and we still don't know where this is going. We can't talk about COVID as being in the past. We perhaps a month or two ago thought we were seeing the tail end of things, but things continue to change with this new variant. I need to back up a little bit for our viewers, just to give a little bit more perspective on Eric and myself and our practices. So the Bond and Bodis law offices are located throughout Alabama and Mississippi. Borowitz and Clark throughout serve clients now throughout Southern California.
Right.
The physical locations are not still there, but you're still servicing clients throughout Southern California. We help people with financial problems and have been for decades at both of our firms. And we know a lot of our viewers, after what we've been through the last 15, 16 months, are having financial problems. We encourage you to be proactive. Our offices offer absolutely free initial consultations. We'll do them from the safety or comfort of your own home or office. So you don't have to take any risks. We're concerned about your health. And we encourage you to reach out for help. That free consultation will be with an experienced attorney. There's no pressure. It's just an opportunity to learn what your options are. Don't wait until you're facing a foreclosure. Don't wait until you're facing a repossession of your automobile because you can't afford the payments. We have had some protections, over the last year from our government. There has been a moratorium on foreclosures, on evictions, student loan collections, but those things either have or are coming to an end, and we need to deal with problems. So please, if you are having financial problems or if you know somebody that is, reach out to one of our firms. Again, we'll do that absolutely free initial consultation for you. So jumping back in, Eric, early 2020, we have to make those quick changes. And you're right, everything changed. How we grocery shopped. We couldn't go out to restaurants anymore. So our businesses, and not just ours, but all businesses had to adopt. Tell us some of the things that you did early on to make yourself available to clients and how things have progressed.
Sure. So again, the first thing we did was make sure that everybody was up and running in terms of my staff, and then put out a series of emails to contact clients to let them know that even though the physical offices that they were used to connecting with us at were no longer available to them, we were still available to them, just through different means. So primarily what that means is that email has become the primary mode of communication. Obviously, telephone is still available. And then we started to incorporate additional technologies in our office to be able to communicate with clients, because again, as we all know now, looking back, things have changed. And really the way businesses communicate with their customers and or clients have changed as well. And so how you communicate with your clients, we now do text messaging with clients, and they're able to text message back to us, which is very convenient. Email, we scan a lot of documents. We don't do as much Zoom meetings as we do Google Meet, but it's the same thing. So if a client wants to have a face-to-face, it's done through Google Meet. We offer people who are doing consultations the ability to do it through Google Meet. Out here in California, what we found was that most of the clients, almost all of the clients, did not want to do Google Meet because they felt that they weren't camera ready, which is a big thing out in Los Angeles, apparently.
I know how they felt. I felt the same way.
I did too. I just figured, people would forgive me if I wasn't camera ready, but the reality is that out here we found that most people have gotten very comfortable by conducting consultations over the phone. If there are documents that they need to provide, they can quickly scan it in. I'm surprised by the number of people that have scanners, but also we've provided our clients with instructions on how they can download scanning apps and things like that, so that we're really, there isn't anything that we were able to do pre-COVID that we're not able to do right now, other than shake their hands and give them that hug when the case wraps up. And while we miss that, for health reasons, I think that that's probably a good thing these days. So and then there's a lot of other benefits that we can get into that both we and the clients have realized by doing things virtually.
Yeah, I think that for our clients, the biggest thing, I've been practicing consumer bankruptcy law for well over 30 years now. This last year, first time in my experience, you can file a bankruptcy from start to finish without ever leaving your home. Consultations with the attorneys at our firm at Borowitz and Clark can be done virtually over the phone or video if you're camera ready. You can retain us. We can gather documentation. We can prepare your petition. We can review it with you. And then when we file it with the court is scheduling the hearings by phone or by video also. So from start to finish, you never need to leave your home. And Eric, that's so important because so many of our clients are already struggling, having to take off from work to drive into one of our offices and sit in the waiting room. It took additional time. Now we just schedule a phone call, or if you'll call in, often we have an attorney available when you call in to talk to you. You don't have to go downtown to a court and find parking and sit and wait for your hearing. You can do that virtually. There have really been some benefits to our clients and to consumers. I guess we're fortunate in that we are in a service type business where we were able to easily transition. I do feel for those people that were in the restaurant business, businesses that did require folks to come by in person. Although even those people have adopted by offer and delivery or pickup or, I don't know. You go to the grocery store anymore there in California?
I have not been to the grocery store in months and months and months. Everything gets delivered. And I mean, we did have a period of time where we had dining out, but I think that that's coming to an end as the variant starts to resurge here in Los Angeles area. And but again, it's not as bad as it was back then because we've been through this. We now know what to expect. We've adapted. We know how to respond to surges of this virus. And so, yeah, I mean, and then the big thing for us, I mean, obviously here in Southern California, which is, internationally known for its traffic and weather, the traffic is real. And so for a client, as you stated, for a client to come to set up an initial consultation with my office was not it was relatively inconvenient. I mean, they would have to take time off. They'd have to fight through traffic, depending on how long if it was 20 miles away, it may take them 45 minutes to get to my office. And then they wait for their appointment and they have their appointment. So, I mean, it could be a day-long experience. Now they call in or we call them. I mean, most of the time what happens now, quite frankly, Brad, is that a client calls in to get information and they get transferred to an attorney right away and have their consultation right then and there. I mean, it could not be any more convenient. They're calling in when it's convenient for them. They're getting all of their questions answered right then and there. A number of strategies maybe laid out as to how to solve their current financial problem. And then they can make the decision. And if they want to retain our firm, we send them a retainer agreement through a platform similar to DocuSign, all legally binding, confidential. They just open that email up, they read the retainer agreement, they click a few clicks, and boom, it's sent back to me. I do the same, and we are their attorneys. And it can happen very quickly. So it's been very nice that they have been able to not have to make the drive to one of our locations. And as a Californian, we also like to point out the fact that it does lower our carbon footprint. It's something that as we wake up every day and the smog in LA, which has gotten better under COVID. That's one of the benefits of COVID. But Borowitz and Clark is doing its part to reduce its carbon footprint by saving all of our clients the drive into the office.
Well, that's a great positive. Eric, one of the things I was concerned about, and I'm still frankly somewhat concerned about, is the loss of the social connection, not just with our clients, but with one another, our staffs. We have a lot of people that have worked in our offices that have worked with us for many, many years, and we've become like family with one another. And I miss seeing everybody on a regular basis. How have you dealt with that issue?
Well, to be honest with you, in the beginning, I didn't really focus on that. And that was, in hindsight, a mistake on my part. While all of my staff, for the most part, really enjoys working remotely for reasons that we can talk about, but and it's benefited them and their families. You're absolutely right. Most of our staff has been here 10 or 15 years or more. They're used to baking cookies and bringing them into the office and celebrating each other's birthdays and all of that type of stuff. And I guess it was lost on me and sort of the hustle and bustle, everything that I was trying to manage, that how important that was. And so one of the things that we did a few months back was we instituted regular meetings, Zoom meetings. So I made sure that all of my staff had webcams, good quality webcams on their computers. We went out and bought those, and we set up monthly meetings. And there's and departments have meetings more frequently, but and it doesn't necessarily need to be organized around a bunch of information that we're dispensing about the law, changes in the law, or the court's requirements, or anything like that. It could just be checking in with everybody and, telling us, what's the best thing that's happened to you in the last week. Just to sort of, again, as you say, connect with one another and reestablish the communication between each other, because it does get somewhat isolating when you're sort of locked in a room in your house, away from your family and away from your friends at work, to just be plowing away at work. And so we've started the regular meetings to sort of get that connection back up, and it's worked really well.
Yeah, that's great. We try to do similar things, although not as regularly as I'd like to, and I need to be better about that myself. However, this new technology, whether you're using Zoom or Google or Facebook, it is you're sitting in California, I'm sitting in Alabama, and we're having a face-to-face type conversation here. I know my family. My mother is in her 90s, and we haven't been able to visit with her in person over the last year, but we've done weekly Zoom type meetings just to get together and talk. And that wasn't something we did in the past, but it's been great. It's been able to get family together and just talk from different parts of the country and even over different parts of the world. So I think we all need to be very conscious of trying to maintain those social connections. Unfortunately, I know there's been a lot of loneliness. Suicide rates have been up nationally. So we need to be aware that there are people out there that still need to be touched, even if it's virtually right now.
Right. And that's again, the technology has allowed us to do that with our clients, which has been really nice because, like I said earlier, while email and phone is a method of communication, seeing each other, letting them know that their attorneys are still here, we're still there for them, we still have their back, and are available to have a face-to-face conversation, even though it may not be sitting in the same office. And again, the acceptance on the client's behalf of that has really changed. I don't know. I assume you've had a similar experience. As I said early on, where we were meeting with clients that had virtual experiences and were really did not enjoy the experience. The fact that we've all been thrust into this situation where these types of virtual experiences are almost mandatory has really broadened the acceptance of them. And so the same clients that used to resist that are now very welcome to it because they see the benefits and they understand that even though it's a two-dimensional communication, it's not something that it still is valid and can be as important.
Right. And thankfully, technology has made these type communications much better. I remember several years back, an attorney giving a presentation on virtual meetings, and he almost had a studio set up in his office where,
Right.
Things could be projected in and all. But now it's just as simple as clicking a button on the computer and you're talking to somebody. Eric, you mentioned some of your employees, although we're not together as much in person, that some had really enjoyed working from home and that there are some benefits. Expand on that a little bit. What are the advantages of working from home?
Sure. I think that, obviously, speaking for myself, I spent I calculated it was about 15 hours a week commuting between all of my offices.
Right.
And I've got, like I said early on, 4 children of a variety of different ages. And it allows me to spend, I get that 15 hours back to spend with my family, which, my young son doesn't even remember a time when I went to the office anymore. He's 4 years old and he knows there's an office out there, but he doesn't remember me going. And the concept that I would leave at 7 in the morning, wouldn't get back till 6 or 7 at night is foreign to him. And so that's just been terrific. I love that amount of time, as does my staff. They're able to stay home. Lunchtime is spent with their family. They can wind down at the end of the day and go straight into family time. So that's been fantastic. They don't have to maintain the same wardrobe that they did, and the dry cleaning bills are a little lower. So there's some savings there, and it's just a lot less stressful, I think, than again, here in California, commuting to work is a stressful situation, whether it be on the freeways or through the subways or the bus system. And so that all goes away, and they can just focus on work and what they're doing during their workday. So that's been a real benefit to them. I think there are challenges that presents to those of us who are the managers of these law firms. The most important, I guess, would be managing not only the client interaction with the staff. And so if there's an issue that you might have overheard on the phone while a staff member was on the phone in your previous in-office life, you don't have that ability anymore. So the only feedback you get from clients is directly when the client brings it to your attention. And those are rare, but still you want to be on top of those. And then also just I think any virtual setting or remote setting, I should say, employers have an issue of productivity and are the people really, working to their full extent. And again, I think that comes down, at least in my experience, you've got seasoned people that have been with you for a long time. They're committed to what they do. They like what they do. They enjoy helping people that are going through financial distress. They love being able to dispense the knowledge that they've incurred over all of these years. And so nobody needs to stand over their shoulder and say, take that phone call, write that email. They
Right.
just know what to do. And when they don't, they know what they need to do if they're not fully informed as to, what the next step might be. They've got to take it up the chain and eventually it comes to me or my business partner, and we will handle it. But I think again, I took a poll when COVID was sort of dimming and there was something on the horizon that Los Angeles and the surrounding areas would reopen. And I took a poll of which ones who wanted to come back to the office and who wanted to work from home. And there wasn't one person who wanted to come back to the office. In spite of, and we had already implemented this sort of monthly get-togethers and things like that. So, that sort of scratched that itch, if you will, in terms of the interaction between them, and the convenience of working from home just is tough to beat.
It is. We've heard a lot of the negatives, and there are negatives out there. Loneliness for some people. And certainly this pandemic has had an impact on kids. Not being able to be at school often with their friends, not being able to participate in athletic activities. On the other hand, often kids are home with their parents and are able to spend more quality time with one another. Before we break here, and I do want to just break away for a second here and then give our audience, if anyone has any questions. We've had a couple come in already. But please, if anyone has any questions, feel free to post them here. We'll try to address them. Eric, what do you see with the future? Are we ever going to go back to meeting in person? How will court be held in the future? Well, what's your perspective? How are things going to change in the future?
I think that it depends upon the individual. But I think generally speaking, society at large will stay very comfortable with this virtual concept. And it is just the efficiencies that it allows businesses to operate under are really tough to ever foresee going back to the way we were. I know my firm is fully committed to maintaining a virtual presence. Again, pre-pandemic, we had lots of offices scattered around Los Angeles. We are winding that down, and eventually we'll have one central location where staff can come into work if they need to, if something were to happen or their internet was down, or they just wanted to get out of the house and come into the office. We have that available to them. And we have an office that for those clients who do want to come in and sort of see the plaques and the diplomas on the wall and all of that, there's that space for that. But truthfully, the attorneys are and the staff for the most part will remain virtual, and it frees up a lot of flexibility. I have the housing costs. Just to give an example, the housing costs here are rising all over the country in meteoric ways, but here in Los Angeles, the housing costs are just astronomical, and so it has allowed employees of mine to move out of Los Angeles. I now have people who work for me in Nevada and Texas who have worked for my firm for 15 years. And as soon as we went virtual, they realized they were no longer tied to Los Angeles. Right. And they were able to move out and live a little bit more comfortably out of state. So I just don't see it going back to the way it was. There may be a hybrid model where some clients want to come in, like I said, and we will have that for the time being, for the foreseeable future. We'll have that opportunity available, but my firm is going to remain virtual, and we will pass on the benefits of that to our clients, and we will continue to look for and employ technology that makes that experience effortless. But we're pretty much there at this point.
Yeah, I would agree. People want to keep things from changing, but it's hard to do. We've learned a lot of the benefits of interacting virtually. It's funny. I used to get on my kids about not being able to interact with people in person. They spent too much time on their phones, and who knew?
Yep.
Now we're all doing it this way. Eric, I want to take just a quick break here, and then we're going to field some questions from our audience. For people that may have just tuned in, my name is Brad Bodis. I'm an attorney with the Bond & Bodis Law Offices, and my guest today is Eric Clark with the Borowitz & Clark Law Offices. The Bond & Bodis offices are located throughout Alabama and Mississippi. Borowitz & Clark is in Southern California, and we help people that are facing money problems. We offer absolutely free initial consultations. We'll do them by phone or video from the comfort and safety of your own home or office. If you do want to meet in person, we can do that also. But we want to help you address financial problems before they become big problems. We encourage you to be proactive. Reach out and get your questions answered as far in advance of when real problems come to fruition as you can. I can help you, and Eric can help you to stop a foreclosure. We can help you to stop an automobile from being repossessed. We can help with wage garnishments, with other financial issues that may become a reality after the challenges we've had this last year. But the further out in front you reach out for help, the better off you're going to be. And although we are bankruptcy attorneys, I will tell you, my first objective is usually to avoid bankruptcy. Bankruptcy shouldn't be your first option. We're going to help you explore all the ways out of the situation you're in. But I'll promise you this, after you reach out and talk to one of our attorneys, you'll know more about the options you have. The uncertainty will be reduced, and maybe we can help you get over some of the misperceptions about bankruptcy and what a fresh start in bankruptcy really can be for you. So please reach out for help. This Facebook Live event and the events we do every week live on our Facebook pages. If you know somebody that could benefit from this information or from one of the many topics we've addressed over the last 18 months or so, please share our Facebook page or share this episode with them. You can also go to our website where these videos reside and get additional information. Our website is available both on this screen, both of our firm's websites, and on our Facebook feed.
And just to build on that, I just wanted to add, my clients' feedback that I've gotten over the last 26 years I've been doing this is the hardest part of this entire process is to reach out initially to the attorney. And because once they do that and they realize that this is not, that there are real effective ways that out of this situation that, and ways to sort of rebuild the future, the hardest part is reaching out. And once they do, we can take it from there and lead you forward.
Eric, I've said that same thing or something very close to it so many times. In fact, just last week, I had a call from a gentleman who had a business that had failed during COVID, and he had been given my name by an associate. And he said he'd been carrying my name and phone number around for months, and he was served with a lawsuit. And he finally realized he needed to do something, and he reached out, and we talked for about an hour. We had a good conversation. We explored all of his options. And he told me at the end of the call that he just felt so much better, and it felt that he could face his wife and that they could discuss the situation together. So please, folks, a phone call, a visit to our website. It's easy to do. Reach out. I hope you can tell that we're both people that are generally concerned about your problems, and we want to help you if we can. So please reach out for help. Thanks for adding that in, Eric. So I do, again, want to encourage viewers that have questions. Please post them. Eric, I've had a couple that have started to come in, and if you don't mind taking some of these questions, I'm going to go ahead and let you address them. The very first question we have, and it's a good one. Are virtual consultations secure? Are they confidential?
So they're certainly confidential. Everything that is communicated between us and either a prospective client or a retained client we are bound by that attorney-client privilege, and we believe that is privileged, confidential information. So, and it is treated as such in my office. As far as secure, it's as secure as it can be, I guess would be my answer. Could somebody hack in? Yes. I'm sure that Zoom had that big issue. I believe they say they've solved it, but look, if the Pentagon can be hacked, so can our phone calls, so can our consultations. I haven't had any problem, and I don't know of any problem that any of my clients, I've heard of no problems since we started doing this back in March of 2020. So I am very confident that the information that we transfer back and forth is as secure as it can be under the circumstances. Again, I'm sure there's some hacker out there that can figure out how to, it's certainly way beyond my ability to hack into the conversations. But, I guess that could, the office of any attorney you go to could be bugged. So. Yeah.
I think I'll just add to that, just to emphasize again, yes, all of your communications with one of us is going to be confidential. I know some firms, you'll talk to a paralegal or a non-attorney. That doesn't happen with our firms. If you call in, you need legal assistance, you're going to be put through to an attorney or have a call scheduled with an attorney that's licensed by the State Bar Association. And we've taken oath of confidentiality. So the communications are going to be confidential. As to security, as Eric said, nothing's perfect, but I will tell you our communications have become better and better and more secure as we've moved forward with this pandemic. Frankly, when things first started, when we didn't really know what we were going to do or how to react, but we made changes quickly, and we've continued to improve the way in which we communicate with clients. And yes, I think you can be confident that things are going to be just as secure as they can be.
And the other thing I'll just add, Brad, is that not only are the attorneys, the conversations with attorneys confidential, but the conversations with our entire staff from start to finish is confidential. The rules of the state bar require all of that to be kept confidential, and as do we in the office. And every one of my employees signs an agreement that they understand that all the communications that they have with clients are confidential. And I often tell them when they first come on board, that even if you refer a friend over and that friend ends up having a bankruptcy through my firm, when you're out at a picnic with your friend, that's not a topic of conversation that you get to bring up.
Thanks for clarifying that. Certainly your communications with our staff are also going to be confidential. But I want you to know that you will have the opportunity to communicate with an experienced attorney one-on-one to address your problems. You know, Eric, that just as a quick aside about confidentiality and the conversation you had with your employee, it happens to me all the time. I'll be out with my wife at a function, and somebody will share that they talked to me, and my wife will say, "You didn't tell me that." I said, "I can't share this information with you."
Yes, yes.
And you know, for those of you that are not sure about reaching out to a bankruptcy attorney, I will tell you, we are helping people just like you all around you. I help the parents of kids that my kids have gone to school with. I help people that we attend church with. There's no stereotypical person that has financial problems. We all have financial problems. So don't allow yourself to feel that stigma. If you need help, reach out for help.
And then the last tidbit on security, that's one of the reasons why we use Google Meet, because Google has a pretty deep pocketbook and a pretty vested interest in maintaining the security of its network. And so while I, may not have the resources to do all of the layers and layers and layers of security, Google does. And so that's one of the reasons why we chose their platform, was because of the security.
Eric, next question here is another good one. What do you do if a client isn't tech savvy enough to meet online? This person says, my parents have difficulty with virtual consultations.
And we've had that situation. And it always astounds me when I'm talking to somebody late in their 70s who says, yes, I'll scan these right over and you'll have them in 5 minutes. And I'm just like, wow, that's impressive. But we also have the people who are 65 and have no idea, they still use the flip phone and just can't do it. Usually, and these are rare cases, but usually what we'll do in that situation is they'll have a grandchild or a nephew or a niece or somebody who is tech savvy who comes in and helps out with some of the technology parts of it. If that's impossible to do, then we have, again, we do maintain a physical office, so they can come into that physical office. We just have, I tell you, in the last 18 months, I think I've had one situation where they didn't have internet, didn't have a smartphone, really, didn't know how to do anything other than talk on the phone. There was no email. And so we mailed them their paperwork. They ended up having a grandchild that had a smartphone, and we were able to conduct the meeting to sign the documents, because again, everything else could really be done over the phone. And so we were able to have them sign the documents, because as part of this bankruptcy process, the attorney needs to verify that the person filing the bankruptcy is the one who signed the documents. And so what we do is we hold a Google Meet, and we actually watch them on camera sign the documents that we have emailed to them. And so they ended up getting some on the smartphone. But it hasn't happened where we've just completely struck out on everything. But in the event that that happens, and there's just no way to get over this tech hurdle, then we do. That's the reason why we still maintain the brick and mortar presence. They can come in, and we'll drive down and meet with them and take care of it then.
Right, and our practices are similar. I will say that there are fewer and fewer people that are not tech savvy from all different age groups now. They've learned that they have to interact virtually, whether it's ordering groceries or food from a restaurant, or just about anything they do these days. They have to learn. But if you are concerned, if you have a grandparent, if you know somebody that just isn't tech savvy and they still need some help, be absolutely glad to schedule an in-person consultation and handle everything, one-on-one with that individual. We understand this is a, when you have money issues, they're tough issues to address. And if you feel more comfortable meeting in person, at least at this point, we'll make that happen. And I don't expect that changing at any point in the future. Eric, this person wants to know, must be maybe a business owner, what apps are you using for virtual consultations? You all already mentioned Google. Anything else you've learned to use effectively over the last year?
Well, Google is primarily what we use for all virtual meetings. So, obviously, if the client, there's certain clients that want to do it on Zoom or something like that, but we try to stick as much as we can to Google Meet. Everything else is primarily done through email. The only other app, and I can't recall the name of it right now, but it's easily found in the App Store, is the app to scan documents. Right. So for people who don't have a scanner on a desktop scanner, but have a smartphone, whether it be an Android or an iPhone or whatever, you can download an app that will take pictures of these documents and convert them into PDF format that can easily be attached to an email. Yeah. And so we have, I would say probably the majority of our clients, when they're done signing the paperwork, in the email that we send them the documents that they need to print out, they will scan those documents with their phone and then send that back to us via email, and then send the originals back. And the other thing I didn't mention on the tech savvy part of it is, for people who don't have scanners, don't have smartphones and stuff, there are lots of businesses out there, UPS stores, FedEx stores, things like that, where you can get things scanned in, have things printed if you don't have a printer. And especially UPS stores, they seem to be all over the place. So there are ways to get around the tech issues. But as far as apps are concerned, the primary one that we're using literally on a phone would be Google Meet and the scanning app.
Two things there. It's probably almost second nature now, but a good voice over internet telephone system. In our offices, we use Ring Central. I can make a phone call from my cell phone or from anywhere, and it's through my office system, and I can answer calls coming into my office from wherever I am. And so many neat tools available with a good VoIP phone system. You can do either voice or video calls. You can record things. You can transcribe things. It's a necessary tool, I think, for anybody to have a good VoIP phone system. And then, Eric, as to the scanning apps, they're important, but I've learned a lot of the phones just have those type features built in. I'm using a Google Pixel phone right now, and the camera itself allows you to save something, scan it and save it as a PDF type thing. So again, technology is adapting, making these things easier for everybody. And I think that
goes, I didn't mean to cut you off. I think that goes to how society as a whole is moving into this the comfort zone with the virtual experience. And so again, had it not been for COVID, this transition that we've made in a relatively short period of time maybe would have taken a decade or more. But we were, as a society, forced into this really compressed transition. And it's been uncomfortable. Certainly in the beginning, it was uncomfortable for everybody to get used to it all and to figure out what to do. But as this drags on, as this virus drags on, as the variants come out, and we continue to see surges in the virus, we're getting more and more used to conducting business as usual from home or wherever we may be located. And so, as you said, technology is advancing. All the tech companies are realizing, their employees are all remote now. I mean, they're starting to realize all of these tools that we need, and they're coming out much quicker than they would have, I think, had it not been for the COVID pandemic.
We have apparently a business owner here that wants to know what type business expenses have you been able to eliminate by going virtual? Office space is one of them. We've talked about reducing our footprint, but what other expenses have you been able to eliminate?
Well, I mean, we had attorneys that would drive all over Southern California for court hearings. That's been eliminated because the court hearings for at least the foreseeable future, are being done virtually. When we didn't have, it would be difficult to serve people who wanted consultations along with our clients when we were scattered out in 5 different court locations. Because those hearings are virtual, it allows us to handle a lot more of those hearings and also have time to talk with clients that are at the beginning stages of the process. So I think that the office rents are a big one, obviously. The commuting and transportation and automobile expenses that we had to pick up are a big one, especially gas being $4.70 a gallon right now. Those are the main ones. I'm trying to think.
Probably the biggest one, we've heard it said, for years and years and years, an attorney's time is his most important commodity. We've been able to save time.
Right.
As we said earlier, we don't have to drive back and forth into the office or between offices or to court. And that's also so important for the people we serve. They don't have to drive to our offices, drive to court hearings, take time off of work to handle a matter like this. Interesting question here. Do you have any advice on getting out of a lease if I want to go virtual? I think you and I probably both have one suggestion that's out there.
Well, certainly we can do that through the bankruptcy process. But talking with the landlord, negotiating, it's going to be difficult because in the old days, you might have been able to sublet this commercial space. You might have been able to negotiate with the landlord, and the landlord would be willing because they had demand on their space. Now, unfortunately for commercial landlords, there's a surplus of inventory, and so they are less and less willing to just say, okay, we'll let you out. But there may be some sort of negotiation that could happen, pay off so that you can avoid the bankruptcy process and the landlord still gets something for the remaining term of the lease. But again, that's a great reason to call one of us and come in for a free or get on a virtual consultation, which again doesn't cost anything at all, to really talk that through a little bit more, because there's obviously issues that may be more specific to a person's particular situation that would really impact that in ways that we may not know in a general way.
Sure, and it's important for business owners out there to know. I see a lot of folks, have seen a lot of folks over the years that have got into financial problems in relation to starting up a business or a business that failed. A free enterprise type system just wouldn't flourish if bankruptcy didn't exist, if there weren't a safety net there.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of businesses have been challenged. If yours has been challenged, if you're having financial problems, do give Eric or my firm, Eric's firm or my firm a call and know what your options are. I can't say it enough. You need to know what your options are, reduce that uncertainty and the anxiety that goes along with it. Did I cut you off there, Eric? Were you going to add
There was
something
just
else?
one last thing on the lease issue is that it also would depend on whether or not there was personal guarantees on the lease.
Yeah.
So again, there's just a lot of factors that go into an answer to that kind of question, and best that you sit down with an experienced certified bankruptcy attorney and get it. And again, bankruptcy may not be. There's plenty of businesses that I've had, or conversations I've had with business owners that didn't personally guarantee it. I say, look, if you just close the door and hand the landlord the keys, they're going to go after a corporation that doesn't have any assets.
Right.
There's really not much they can do. So bankruptcy, what wouldn't be the situation? It wouldn't be the answer in that situation. So as you started early on, our job is not to have everybody file bankruptcy. Our job is to find the right solution, and bankruptcy is just one of the types of solutions that are out there.
I'm going to throw in one last question here because I want to answer this one first, then I'll give you a chance. How has your staff performed since they've become remote? I'm going to tell you, our staff has been outstanding. Again, we're blessed at the Bond and Botus law offices to have a lot of people working with us that have been with us for a very long time. We're like family. And I shouldn't have had any concerns, but any concerns that I did have, they're gone. Our staff has been very pleased with the ability to work virtually, and they've been outstanding in responding to client needs, responding to the attorney's needs. We've been very fortunate. What's your experience been, Eric?
It's been pretty much the same. I mean, I will tell you that one of the ways to sort of judge a good business, whether it be a law firm or anything else, is turnover. And the fact that you have seasoned employees, as do we, really is a testament to how they, how we treat the people that come into our offices for help. It's unusual for bankruptcy law firms to have employees the length of time that your firm has had and that my firm enjoys. When I talk to other of our colleagues, they're always surprised that I tell them that, the average employee has been with me for something like 14 years. They've been outstanding. They've adapted very quick. I was concerned, as you say, probably unnecessarily so, that they would have trouble with the transition. They didn't, and they really stepped up and made space in their homes to have an office, and didn't miss a beat. And it was a great benefit to all of us.
Now, at the Bond and Botus law offices and at Borowitz and Clark, we are families, and if you reach out to us for help, I've said this countless times, we're going to treat you like a family member. We want to help you find the best solution for you. So, Eric, I want to be respectful of your time. We're nearing the hour here. I want to thank you for joining us to discuss these important issues. To our viewers, again, the Borowitz and Clark law offices are throughout Southern California, seeing clients, helping clients throughout that area. Bond and Botus, we're in Alabama and Mississippi. If you need assistance, please reach out for help. If you're in an area that we don't serve, I recommend that you visit the National Association of Consumer Bankruptcy Attorneys website. It's NACBA.org. There's an attorney finder section on that website. Just about all of us offer free initial consultations. At Borowitz and Clark and Bond and Botus, we will do them for you from the comfort and safety of your own home and office right now. But we need to get through this together. Please know we're here if we can help you. Eric, anything I may have missed that you want to throw in here before we close up?
No, I want to thank you for having me. It's an important topic as we all transition into this new world that we're living in, and I just hope everybody stays safe and gets vaccinated and fights off this resurgence of this variant.
Amen to that. Well, thank you for your help with this and with so many things you've helped us with over the years. you can still give hugs to your wife and family, so please give all of them a hug for me out there. And to our viewers, again, thank you for joining us today. Please know that you can share these episodes. And at Borowitz and Clark, at Bond and Bodis, we're all about, faith, family, finances. Please let us know if we can help you. Until next week, thanks for joining us. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you very much, Brad. Appreciate the time.